All right, point number 5, Chris. Gregg Berhalter. A lot came out about the Gio Reyna and Reyna's family and Gregg Berhalter last week. Berhalter was cleared to be able to come back and coach the U.S. men's national team. So I'll ask you, should Gregg Berhalter be able to come back to the U.S. men's national team?
Well, if you did ask me right after the World Cup, we talked about this, and straight after the World Cup, I was all for no, let's make a change. But because of what's happened, because of how he's been, I think it's been really cheap. It was a real cheap shot for the Rainers to have a go at his character and bring something up from 30 years ago that he'd obviously put right and he owned up to, and isn't an issue now. I think it was really dirty of them to do that and really low. So now I would say I've changed. I've changed my philosophy. I don't think it's fair that someone should be hounded out for non-soccer reasons by a family of a player that he wasn't playing. And maybe he could have handled that player better at the World Cup. But that's not the point now. If you can get hounded out, if you're gonna fire people because of what families having a vendetta against you, then that's really that's really low, and that shouldn't happen. So I would say no, let him go. Let him stay in there, and then just judge him on soccer, on his soccer results and how that goes. Let's put all that behind us. I think they've embarrassed themselves and that Reyna family, and yeah, I feel sorry for the guy now, and let him go. Let him build on what they did in the World Cup. Hopefully.
Look, I will say this. Here's the problem. What happened with Gregg Berhalter was 30 plus years ago. He and his wife have made amends, and he put his hands on his wife in a way that he shouldn't have. And he owned up to it. When asked about it, he absolutely owned up to it, right? I mean, he said, yes, I did it, and it was wrong, and I shouldn't have done it. And my wife and I have worked through that. And again, it was 30 years ago. But let's be very real. If I am a U.S. men's national team fan, we all were okay with him going away because he's not good enough. He was never qualified for the job, and you will never reach your potential as long as you continue to allow the Gregg Berhalters of the world to be the coach of the U.S. men's national team. And so at this point, you probably are going to bring him back and have to bring him back. Christian Pulisic said this weekend, hey, it was youth league stuff that happened, and it was my kid's not going to get enough playing time, so let me air dirty laundry that happened 30 years ago that you've made amends for. Let me air that out publicly so that you can lose your job so that my kid gets more playing time because I'm unhappy. And it was childish, and it should not have happened that way. But at the end of the day, Gregg Berhalter should have never been the manager of the U.S. men's national team. He should have never been the coach. He's never been particularly good. He's been a mid-level MLS coach at best is what he was. If he wanted to be an assistant coach on the team, that's fine. If you want to have that kind of MLS presence that's there. But this is the problem with the U.S. men's national team. And I'll just say it for U.S. men's soccer as a whole. And I'm going to jump on a soapbox for a second, Chris. Look at where right now you're allowing the MLS to virtually run this. And Berhalter's brother, when he got the job, was the chief marketing officer for the MLS, for U.S. soccer. And now he's working with the MLS. That's why Gregg Berhalter got this job, not because of anything that he's done as far as being a manager. He's look at where the MLS is, especially if you're going to allow the MLS to run the U.S. men's national team the way that you have. The MLS, according to one metrics ranking that I found, the 15th strongest league in the world, 15th strongest. Wow. How do you expect to play well when you're going to let that league run everything that you do? In 538's analytics rankings, they rank every single team in international soccer. The highest ranked U.S. team is LAFC at 105. That's it. And think about this. If you're a manager right now, would you rather manage at the back end of League Two? Like Forest Green is the last team at the end of League One. Would you rather be the manager of Forest Green, or would you rather be the manager of an MLS squad right now? And the answer is you'd rather be the manager of Forest Green. So it's just so why are you letting this league continue to run things? And I'll be honest, as a U.S. men's national team fan, as an American, I was okay with this being the thing that got him out of there, not because I thought the way it went down was right, but because he's not very good. And you'll never reach your potential as long as Gregg Berhalter's there. And unfortunately, it's like it has to be one or the other. It's either, well, Gregg Berhalter, what happened to him was wrong, so now he's the guy and let's all get behind him, or no, Gregg Berhalter, he put his hands on his wife 30 years ago. He needs to be out of here. I think the truth is of the matter is we all know that what was happening with the Reyna family and Gregg Berhalter wasn't right, but we were okay with him leaving that way because it meant he was leaving, and maybe you would go hire a manager that's qualified to have the job.
Yeah, I mean, the Rainers may have shot themselves in the foot because he may have been fired anyway after the World Cup. They didn't have time to have the inquest, did they? And this came out, so he may well have gone anyway, and they may well have found a manager who was better suited, better qualified from world soccer somewhere, who's got experience in stronger league soccer. So yeah, I mean, you're exactly right to have the MLS. I mean, we all know the shortcomings of the MLS and the way it's structured and how your best players are going to Europe. Best American players now are going to Europe to play in the European leagues. And then the guys who have come to the end of their career in Europe are coming over here for one last hurrah. And I say here, I'm in the States now, and I'm now a US citizen. I'm a dual citizen as well. So I've got skin in the game here as well. I'm a US men's national team fan too. So I want to see them get as strong as I can. But I just didn't like the way it went down, and I would prefer him to be given his chance. If the signs weren't good after the World Cup, and if it continued that way, it won't be long anyway before there's a change. But I just wouldn't like the Rainers to think that, and future Rainers in the world, whoever they are, to think that they can have some say in getting somebody fired over what happened 30 years ago. I think that was really cheap.
Because you didn't give your son enough playing time. This is something that wouldn't happen in high school athletics, much less do you allow this to happen at the U.S. men's national team level.